So, boom, coming to this conclusion that, especially out of all the neurotypes, autistic people cannot be social creatures. Because collectivism also includes the aspect or the attribute, the value or the priority of autonomy, as well as communalism. So to be a communal creature, like, you have to have, it's a value of autonomy in of itself and self-authority. You don't relinquish that shit. So it's literally it quite literally contradicts conformity, because you're not relinquishing authority, you're upholding your own autonomy, which is something that autistic people value the most. There's literally a psychological term for it. It's called autistic PDA. Literally, it really means like autistic pathological demand disorder. It quite literally insinuates that they have a priority or value, a genetic disposition to anything that threatens its own autonomy. So tell me again, we're not communal creatures. Tell me, autistic people, ADHD, autistic, dyslexic, OCD, all of them is not communal creatures. Why the fuck is it that when we get together and we be having conversations, my nigga, everything just clicks? We literally have web pattern thinking. That is literally collective thinking. You're collecting information. You literally connect dots of information together. That's what web thinking is. Social creatures don't have it. They don't have web thinking. They have a different form of thinking. I forgot what it's called. But it's like they don't put information together. They just kind of like, it's all separate. Almost like, instead of like a brainstorm, it's like a brainstorm instead of a web, except everything's not connected. That's why when you try to explain things to people who are neurotypical, they can't make sense of it. Because they can't put together ideas. Or they can't even conceptualize concepts without someone putting it, kind of like hand feeding, mouth feeding it to them. You see what I'm saying? That's why whenever you try to explain your pattern recognition to them, your realizations, they don't get it. They don't put together context clues. That's why they have such a hard time in ELA and writing class when the teacher says, use the information and find the context clues to find the answers. All of them be stressed. And you be over here writing subtitles in the background on the side of the passages, writing notes and shit, color coding every motherfucking thing, while they asses over there struggling. You already know the answer to all the questions. Fuck them questions too, because they stupid questions. I don't even like to answer questions. But damn, I know every fucking answer in this motherfucker regardless. That's why when we read, we already knowing the end of the story. When we come together and we share our observations, information, because we think about information that much. Yeah, that's why they said we process so much information at once. So the reason why we're capable of doing that, because if it's true that back in the day we would have been hunters and gatherers, we're also the same people that seeded every civilization. Because collectivism prioritizes community and goal-oriented thinking. The necessity of the group over oneself. It's quite literally intellectualism on blast. We're intellectual thinkers naturally. In our most, how should I say, functioning mind and body, soul, and spirit, we're intellectual thinkers. I'm not saying everybody that's autistic or has any one of these neurodivergencies is intellectual, but we very much are. Like, the ones that are intellectuals, my friend, they could build a whole new world, front, back, up, and center, backwards, and forwards. It don't matter. When we get together, we just share. We just come together and share ideas, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, we don't share ideas as in like the way the socialists do. We share not even ideas. It's more like we share our ideas, but our ideas are seeded from concepts. We're conceptualizing, conceptual thinkers. Socialists don't do that because they're not creative. I'm not gonna say they're more logical, but whatever they got going on, we don't do that. That's why we're very creative, because we have that communal way of thinking. Communication requires creativity, which requires independent thinking, intellectual thinking. That's why there's a lot of really, 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 really smart, like, autistic philosophers and shit. I'm a philosophical person, and not every person that's autistic can understand me. I know that. At least not the ones that aren't self-aware, but the ones that really are. Oh my gosh. You're done. So my point is, like, not everybody's a social creature, my nigga. Like, some people are really communal creatures and communal thinkers, which is another thing I need to do some research on. You just gotta connect the dots, bro. If you're not cut like that, I don't think you're gonna get it. But and it's not supposed to be some type of woe was me, like I'm better than you type shit. But come on now, we really got the we really got some buffs up in this bitch. We got some buffs. I ain't gonna lie. I feel good. You know what I'm saying? But that's also why you'll find a lot of autistic people, like, they're either extroverted and introverted, or simply just, well, no, actually, like, they're both extroverted and introverted. That's because they have that creative mind and that, what people like to call logical mind, but it's really just the intellectual mind. That's why we intellectualize things differently. We don't intellectualize things on a social level. We intellectualize things on a collective level. Which is why it seems like we're even though we're not the same type of people, and we're very different, regardless of whether we're on the spectrum or not, we all think the same things, or we all feel the same ways, or we all perceive reality, like we all have the same kind of ideas, and you know, opinions and shit like that. Although we don't have similar, how should I say, attributes or characteristics or features. You know what I'm saying? Like, we don't look the same or we don't act the same, but we be thinking the same shit. Feeling the same way. Having the same emotional expression and reaction or experiences. Because that's collective thinking. That's literally what collective thinking is. We don't even have to be near each other. We just know. Shit just resonates. We always sharing realizations in our coming to moments, aha moments and shit like that. We always have these theories, theoretical thoughts. We be piecing shit together like it's a puzzle. Everything is a fucking puzzle. It doesn't even have to be a literal puzzle right in front of us. We just get it. That's the collective communal thinking mind. So no, we don't have a social mind. We have a communal mind. Autistic people, OCD, dyslexia, ADHD, and especially if you have more than one of those things, nigga, you are fucking a communal creature. You're not social. That's why you don't come outside to fucking say hi to everyone and play these social cues. You do emotional cues, which implies that you value empathy over interaction and impression, matter of fact, which is the implication, the implied meaning of having to interact with someone else. No. That's why we can tell your emotional expression and we can read your micro expressions and shit like that. We're really good at micro expressions. Social people don't give a fuck about that, or they just don't even notice it. Suck it. That's a sad world for you. I don't give a fuck, but we try to explain it to them. We try to be understanding their feelings. They be trying to act like we malice. No, bitch, you're a manipulator. That's why the fuck you can't trust people. We don't have to worry about that. Not with ourselves, at least. I don't know.